Hello everyone, this is Rahul and today I have an exciting topic to talk about, which is migration. Today we are going to talk about how we can plan the migration from your existing cloud service provider to a new cloud service provider. And today we are going to talk about this new cloud service provider, which is UpCloud. I recently migrated one of my own project from AWS to UpCloud, and you might be wondering that why I choose UpCloud instead of AWS. Before I answer the question why I choose UpCloud, it is really important for you to understand that there are certain steps which I need to follow to complete and make this migration successful. And this whole migration process, there are certain key points which stands out for me to choose UpCloud and keep my project running over there. Don't worry, I have documented this whole process of a migration from AWS to UpCloud. I reached out to the UpCloud customer support with my requirement with the details like how I am running the project on AWS, what are the resources of AWS I am consuming. I have submitted that request onto their customer support and they have given me a detailed plan. This is how your migration is gonna look like. I'll walk you through each step, how I approached this migration and made this project successful. But here are the key highlights which stands out from this whole migration process. The first which I really liked is the ease of use. So whenever you are trying to choose any cloud service provider, then you would like to see how it is easy for you to use. Second is the performance. So whenever you're talking about your application running on any servers or a cloud service provider, then you want a very good and optimal performance for your application. So that's the second point. Third is the quick service deployment. I want to have my application deployed and running as soon as possible onto any cloud service provider. And in this case, it is UpCloud. Fourth one is the security. So I cannot compromise on any of the security aspect of my application. So security is the topmost for me. Fifth one is the customer support and the migration support. So here at UpCloud, you generally get a 3 months migration support, which is cost free for you. So you can reach out to the UpCloud customer support and ask for any help which you need for the migration of your existing project. And the sixth one is the smooth migration. So I just wanted to have a really pleasant experience without any downtime or the minimal downtime for which is required and which is necessary. So I just wanted to have that smooth migration of my application to UpCloud. And the final one, which is cost, and which is one of the most leading factor to choose me the UpCloud, because if you're running a service, you want to have it as much as cost effective as possible. Now, how I planned my whole migration to UpCloud. So these are the steps which I followed to complete my whole migration, which starts from choosing the service provider, and which I just explained why I chose UpCloud. The second one is the mapping of the services. So I need to identify what are the resources from UpCloud which I need to run my application and make it deployable successfully onto the UpCloud. So I need to find those resources, for example, server, MySQL database, load balancer, and how to configure my DNS configuration onto the load balancer so that I can point my domain to the UpCloud load balancer. Third thing is infrastructure setup and provisioning on a new cloud service provider. So if you are a fan of a Terraform, then UpCloud has a really good documentation on a Terraform, and they do support Terraform. So you can just use their Terraform also to provision your infrastructure. Fourth one is the application deployment. So once your infrastructure is deployed or your infrastructure is ready, then you can start deploying your application code or the services which you're planning to run onto the UpCloud, and which I did. So I have my GitHub repository with me. So I just cloned that GitHub repository onto the servers which I have just provisioned onto the UpCloud, and I deployed my application. Don't worry, we are just gonna see everything which I have documented, and those are really good documentation which will help you to understand this whole migration process. Fifth one is the data migration. Once your services are up and running, then you will start planning your data migration so that you can copy the data from your existing cloud services provider, which in my case is AWS, to the desired cloud service provider, which is UpCloud. Sixth one is the DNS configuration, because previously my whole domain was pointing to AWS DNS configuration. Then I need to make a switch. Once I'm satisfied with my project is up and running, my data is migrated, then I started planning to change the DNS configuration, because that's a crucial step and there where you might receive a certain downtime. So you need to be really careful while doing the DNS configuration, because there will be a certain downtime which is needed for you. So I made a switch over into my DNS provider from where I have purchased my domain. So I made a change over there and it was really quick. So it was a really short downtime and I was back and up and running within like a 15 or 20 minutes. Seventh one is the execution. So this whole process required these many steps, and you need to make sure that you have executed each and step properly. And the last one is the testing. Once you have done all these steps, then you need to make sure that you have migrated your project successfully, your services are up and running, that you need to perform certain kind of a testing or user acceptance testing. And then you conclude that, hey, I have migrated my whole project successfully. So before we start the migration and go to the sign up page of our UpCloud, it is really important for me to show you the project which I'm planning to migrate. So this is the GitHub repository where my code presents for my project, and this project is implemented in Python using the Flask. And this project uses the MySQL database for storing and fetching the data. And there are certain REST APIs which I have implemented, which is responsible for fetching and storing the data into the MySQL DB. So this is a project which is quite simple to understand if you have previously worked with the Python, but you are not restricted to Python. You can use any of your project and deploy onto the UpCloud. So here I have my project was implemented in Python, so I have to go with the Python, but you are not restricted with any specific technology. So just keep in mind. Okay, so this project is quite simple and it is really easy to understand. So here I'm just making a database connection, and after that I have just implemented some REST API which will be communicating with my database. And this is a GitHub project which is available onto this particular GitHub repository, which I'll post into the description section if you want to take a look. But let's head over to now to the sign up process of UpCloud. All right, so here is the homepage of our UpCloud, and on the top right corner you will find a sign up link. So just click on sign up link, and here you need to enter the first name, last name, email address, and just verify the CAPTCHA, and you are good to go with the UpCloud. You don't need to provide any credit card details to start using this UpCloud. So the sign up process is quite simple. Just fill out these details. You will get a confirmation mail onto your email, and you just need to verify your email, and then you're just good to get yourself started with the UpCloud. And one more important thing before we jump into the UpCloud dashboard and start provisioning the infrastructure, I'll just walk you through very briefly what are the different components which we will be setting up in this whole migration process. So first we will start with the server. We will create a server. In my case, I'm using Ubuntu, but there are various other like a server based like Windows, Linux based. So you can choose any different operating system images to provision your server. So here, first thing, we are going to provision the server. In my case, I'm just going to use Ubuntu. Second, I'm just going to provision the database, which is MySQL. Third, we will be needing a load balancer, which will be pointing to our server. And this whole infra we will be provisioning into our private network, where we will be assigning a certain IP range, which we call it as a CIDR. So this is going to be your private network. And after that, we will be setting up our DNS configuration. I have purchased my own domain, that is from Google domain. Then I need to make the changes into the DNS configuration of my domain, so that that particular DNS configuration points to this particular load balancer of UpCloud. And once everything has been configured correctly, all the application has been deployed, then we are going to make a request. That request will land onto our Google service provider, because where my domain is registered, there it will find a DNS configuration of our load balancer, which is our CNAME configuration, which will be present onto our Google domain. Then our request will be redirected to our UpCloud load balancer. From there, it will land onto our server, and from the server, it will be able to communicate with the database. So this is how this whole process is gonna look like. And we are gonna first start by setting up our private network and server. All right, so once you finish the sign up, so this is the default homepage you will get of your UpCloud account. So before we start our migration, I would like to walk you through the dashboard of the UpCloud and the option which we will be going through. So on this dashboard, you will see on the left hand side, there are quite a lot of options. So we will be primarily be using the servers, networks, database, and the load balancer. So these are the quite a few options we will be using throughout this project to migrate my project from AWS to UpCloud. Before we start provisioning servers, database, and load balancer, it's really important to jump onto this whiteboard and try to visualize how our migration project's gonna look like. So here is my whiteboard, and here you can see the first component which I have drawn is the private network. So here I will be creating a private network onto my UpCloud account, which will be having a IP range or the CIDR range of 10.0.0.0/24. So all the servers or all the resources which I will be provisioning within this private account. So that's the first component which we need to be really careful. Now, how to create your private network onto your UpCloud. So this is the dashboard of my UpCloud account. So on the left navigation menu, you will find the option for a network. So just click on network over here, click on the private network over here. And here you will find one private network or the utility network, which is by default created from UpCloud, which is this one, which you will eventually see once you sign up for UpCloud. But here I'm just interested in creating my own private network for my project migration. So I'm just going to click on create SDN network. And here you need to enter the name. So I'm just going to put dev project network. I'm just going to put private and then network over here. After that, you need to choose the location. So I'm just going to choose the location which is nearest to me. So I'm just going to choose the Finland Helsinki location over here. And remember, this location we are just going to use into other resources as well. And the IP range, as I told you, I'm just going to stick with this IP range, but you are free to modify your IP ranges if you need to customize it. And after that, you just click on create SDN network. And here you can see our private network is ready. And this is the name of the private network which we have just created. All right, so now after creating the network, what is the next resource which we are going to create? So the next resource which we are going to create is the server. So here you can see this is the server, which is Ubuntu based, but there are various images which are available onto UpCloud, like a Windows, Linux, which you can use as per your project requirement. But for this project, I'm just going to stick with the Linux Ubuntu. And this is the server which we are going to provision next within our private network which we have just created. So let's go back to our dashboard, and on the dashboard on the left navigation menu you will find the options for a server over here. So click on this deploy server option, and here again you need to choose the location. Since I have created my private network into the Finland Helsinki location, so I'm just going to choose the same region here as well. Otherwise I will not be able to attach that particular network to this server. Okay, after choosing the region, the next thing which you need to choose is the plan. So here there are various plans which are available. So like a general purpose, high CPU, high memory. So you just need to choose like how much bandwidth you will be needing. So you can choose according to that. And it depends totally on the number of users which will be accessing your application. But for my application, I know it's a very few users. So I'm just going to stick with the first plan, which is this one. And if you move further, then you will eventually find the option for a storage. So if you need to increase your storage, then you can just customize the storage from here for your server. Next thing is the automated backup, which you can see. If you need automated backup, which is managed by UpCloud for your servers and your application, then you can just enable this option and you can choose the plan based on your needs. The next thing is the operating system. So as I told you, I'm just going to stick with the Ubuntu because that's where my application is more compatible, and I have built to run into the Linux environment, which is more towards the Ubuntu. But here there are various options like Alma Linux, CentOS, Debian based, Windows. So you just need to choose the images which you feel comfortable. Okay, after that, the next thing and the important thing is the network. So I have already created a network, but we need to attach that network to this particular server. So here you will find the option for attach private network. And also, if you can see over here, there are utility network, public IP6, public IP4. If you want to have these options, then just click on enable all these options. But here I'm just going to attach my private network. So click on attach private network option over here. And here you can see the network which I have just created in the previous step. So just click on that one and click on attach network. And here you can see our network has been attached to my server. Okay, the next thing is the optional services, which is like a metadata services, which enable some metadata API endpoints for your server, which will tell you like what is the health and the IP address of your server. So if you need, then just enable those services. If you don't, then you can disable those as well. After that, the most important thing is the SSH keys. So if you are working on to your like a server, you want to have access to your server so that you can just deploy your application, you can just debug your application, you can see your logs. So for that purpose, we need to set up some kind of a login mechanism through which we can access our server. So for that, I'm just going to set up the SSH keys. And to set up the SSH keys, you need to first generate the SSH keys. So let me show you like how it's going to work. So here, this is my server, and here I'm just going to generate two keys for to enable the SSH. One is the green key, which you can see, which is our public key, which I will be putting it onto my server, and one will be our private key, which I will be keeping onto my laptop, so that I can use that private key to log in or to SSH into my server. So first of all, let's see how to generate those keys onto local laptop on my working laptop, and then I will be uploading the public key to this server, and the private key I'll keep it to myself. All right, so here is my terminal where I'm just going to generate the keys. So the command which I'm just going to use is SSH key gen. And once you hit enter, then it is going to ask what is the path where would you like to generate the key. So I'm just going to paste the path over here, which is this path where I would like to generate my keys. And after that, I'm just going to put a /, and here I'm just going to name the key. So I'm just going to name the key as migration keys. And then after that, I'm just going to hit enter. So that's the name of my key, which you need to keep in mind, and then hit enter. If you would like to enter the passphrase, then it's up to you. I'm just going to skip that part and hit enter. And after that, I'm just going to copy the path and see where my keys are generated or not. So this is the path. I'll just copy it. I'll clear the screen over here. I'll paste the path with the ls command over here. And here you can see our key has been generated. So here you can see the key which doesn't have any extension is going to be your private key, and the key with the extension is going to be your public key, which ends with the .pub extension. Okay, so I'll just like to explain one thing over here also. So here you can see into this diagram. So this is the server, this is the green key, which is your public key, which we are going to associate with our server, and this is our red key, which is our private key, which I'm just going to keep it myself. Okay, so and here you can see on the terminal we have both the keys right now. So I'm just going to run the cat command to see the content of my public key, and I'm just going to run this command over here. And here you can see this is the content of a public key. I'm just going to copy this content, go to my UpCloud dashboard over here where I was provisioning my server. So I'm just going to click on add key over here, paste the content of a key. So this is the public key which I'm associating with my server. And after that, I'm just going to copy the name of the key so that I know which key I'm referring to. So this is the name of my public key. I'm just going to put over here and then click on save SSH key. And here you can see our SSH key has been associated with my server. After that, there is an initialization script, and this is important because here I'm just going to write some script to install and run my Python project onto my server. I'm trying to deploy my Python project, but in case if you have some other projects like Node.js, or Java, or any other application, so you just need to install all the libraries and make it available onto that server so that you can run your project. But let me copy the script which I will be running over here. So I'm just going to copy that script, paste it over here. So this is just a simple bash script which will be executing on the runtime or the boot time of my server. So here you can see this is the bash script. I'm just going into the root directory. After that, I'm updating the package manager. Then after installing the Python 3 onto my server, after that I'm cloning my project over here. Then I'm just sleeping it for 20 seconds. And after that, I'm just going into the directory of my project. Here, I'm just trying to remove the dependencies which I don't need for my Python project. That's local to me. But in your case, you just need to find a suitable option and library which are needed or which are not needed. Second, I'm just going to install the requirement.txt, which will install all the libraries which is needed for my project. And after that, I'm just going to start my Python project into the background mode. And after that, I'm just going to wait for 30 seconds so that my project is up and running. Okay, so that's the script which is going to execute at the boot time when I'm starting my server. So I think we are ready with our server, and now I can click on the deploy. And here you can see now my server is getting deployed, and the status will be soon green over here. So I'll be back once this server is up and running. All right, so here you can see my server is up and running. So let's go and check the details over here. So this is the server which we have just started, and I would be interested in knowing the public IP of my server. So here you can see this is the public IP through which I can SSH and see my server. So what I will do, I will just go to my terminal over here, and I'm just going to use the private key to SSH into my server. So let's check the key. So here you can see my key is there. So I'm just going to use the command SSH, and after that and after that I'm just going to supply the key, which is this one. And after that I just need to enter the root username, which is this one. And after that I need to enter the IP. So this is the command through which you can log in or SSH into your server. Just hit enter. And here you can see I'm into my server. I'll just clear the screen, and I would like to show you the folder which I have just cloned onto using my script, which I have just assigned to my server. So let's run the ls command, and here you can see this is the directory. I'll just go to that directory and I'll just run the ls command, and here you can see the code of my particular project. So this is the app.py which is already running, and this is the requirement.txt where I have already specified my libraries. Okay, so let me show you that how my application is running. So I'm just going to run the command curl and localhost, and after that I just need to specify the port because I have chosen the 5000 port to run my Python application. And here you can see this is the response I'm getting. So this is the HTML page which we will see eventually once we configure our load balancer. But at this point of a time, my application is up and running inside my server. And I also promised to show you the project. So this is the project which you can see over here. So this is the Python project which I have built for myself, which I'm deploying onto my UpCloud account. And this is the app.py. And this is the code. And if you see here, so these are some REST API endpoint which I have implemented for this particular application. All right, so after setting up our server and running my Python project inside my server, the next thing is we need a database, because my Python application or the Python project is running inside the server, but it needs a database to communicate with. So here I'm just gonna set up the database, which is my MySQL, and for that I'll just go back to my dashboard over here. So here on the left navigation menu, you will find an option for a database. So just click on the database over here. And here you can see this is the default dashboard for your database. So I'm just going to click on create a new database over here. And here again, I need to choose the region. So I'm just going to choose the same region where my private network and servers are present. So I'm just going to choose Finland Helsinki location. And here these are the options. So I'm just going to stick with MySQL. If you need Postgres, Redis, or OpenSearch, then you can just choose these options as well. But let's choose the MySQL at this point of a time. And here these are the plans. So I'm just going to stick with the €100 per month plan, which is quite good to get yourself started. And there are many more plans which are available. So just choose whatever you feel comfortable for your project. After that, there is a connection access. So there is a public connection. So as of now, I'm just going to keep it disabled. And the private connection, I'm just going to rely on our utility network. I'm not going to change that one. Allowed IP access, so automatic access for utility network servers. So I'm just going to allow that one because utility network is the default network which is already available for my UpCloud account. Okay, that's done. And after that, maintenance schedule, if you need some maintenance schedule, then just configure it from here. But I'm just going to stick with the Sunday, which is our weekend. So that's quite good because there is very less load onto the weekends. So that is there. Termination protection, if you need, then just enable that one also. And after that, the service name, if you would like to mention something. So I'm just going to choose DAO project MySQL database. So that's the name I'm just going to choose. So I'm just going to copy the same service name and paste it over here as well. Okay, so now my details are ready. I'm just going to click on create database over here. And it will take a few minutes to start my RDS instance. And here you can see it is setting it up. So I'll be back once this database is up and running. All right, so after waiting for a few minutes, my database is up and running, which you can see over here. And here you can see this is the MySQL DB which is running right now. There are a few things which you need to keep in mind, that you need to copy the connection URL, which is your host connection, and also the username and the password along with the port, which because you need to provide those connection detail of your database to your Python application. So here you can see this is the connection string, but I'm mostly interested into the host, port, and after that there is a username and the password which is generated by UpCloud for you, and there is a database name as well. So just copy all those detail, and I can show you where you need to update if you are using this kind of a project. So here is the DB connection detail, which will be similar for you if you are using the similar type of a project setup. But anyway, you just need to update the host over here. You can enter one more line item and add a port over here. After that, username, password, DB, which is default DB, which you can see over here. You can after that insert the username and password as well, which you can see over here, which is this part. So you pretty much need to update all the connection detail of your database into this connection string. And after that, you just need to start your Python project, or you just need to reboot your server once you have updated these detail into your application so that it can connect to the database instance. So I'm hoping that you have updated all this detail, and after that your application should be able to communicate with your database. All right. Now, after setting the server database, the next thing which I'm just going to set up is our load balancer. So the load balancer will help us to route our request to our server, and then server will internally make a call to our database connection to perform read-write operation onto our database. So next thing which we are going to do, we are just going to set up the load balancer. So for that, let's go back to our dashboard over here, and on the left navigation menu, you will find the options for a load balancer. So click on the load balancer over here, and here we need to click on the new load balancer because there was no previous load balancer which exists. So I just click on new load balancer, and here we need to again choose the region. So I'm just going to choose Finland Helsinki region. After that, you just need to choose plan. So either you can go with the development, you can go with the production. So I will first go with the development just to see all the things if it works or not, and then we can even upgrade to the production as well. And again, the maintenance schedule, if you need something, then you can just set up the maintenance schedule here as well. And here service name, so I'm just gonna put the service name as the dev project load balancer. Click on next. The next thing is public access. Would you like to allow this to public? So yes, I would like to enable this so that I can verify my public load balancer. And after that, there is a attach private network. So here I'm just going to attach it. So here the private network which I have already created, which is dev project private network. So I'm just going to attach it, that private network, to my load balancer over here. And the public network name you can put like a dev project load balancer public. All right, so after that, once we have attached our private network to the load balancer, click on next over here. And the thing which we need to do over here is to create a backend. So what is backend in the UpCloud? So if you go to our diagram, so in the backend, we can include multiple servers. So backend is just a kind of a group which will be attached to this load balancer. So in the backend, we can have a more than one server running behind the load balancer. So as of now, I have already created only one server, but you can create more than one server in the backend. So let's get back to our backend over here and click on create new backend. And here you can assign the name. So I'm just going to put, I'm just going to click on this edit option here. I'm just going to put the name. So dev project backend. And after that, you need to click on add member. So as I told you, I have only created one server, so I will be able to add only one server at this point of a time. But if we have more than one, then you can add those into that backend. So just click on add members over here, and here in the drop down, you will find the option, which is this server which we have provisioned. Just select that one and the port. So I'm just going to use the port 5000 because that's where my application is running actually. And here you can specify dev backend server Ubuntu. It's just some suitable name which you need to keep it over here. Just click on add member over here. And now you have attached your server to your backend. So this is how it is working. We are creating a load balancer, then we are creating a backend, and in the backend we are attaching the server, how many server we want to associate with our load balancer. After that, we just need to move forward. DNS resolver, we don't need to change anything. TLS connection, we are not going to change anything. Attach certificate, I'm just going to show it later because we need to enable HTTPS for our application, but that we can do it later. This attach certificate part, we'll do it later. And then just check properties. If you need sticky session, outbound proxy control, then you can configure it from here. The health check, which is important. So I have already configured the health check. So I'm just going to put that health check over here, and I'm just going to put health over here. Just click on, okay, apply the changes for health. And after that, just click on create over here. And here you can see our backend has been created. Click next over here. And here we need to configure our front end. So here you can see the algorithm, which I'm just going to choose is round robin. Click on create front end. And here we need to specify our ports and everything so that it can communicate. Our front end can communicate with this whole load balancer and backend server configuration. Okay, so here we need to select the backend because now we are setting up our front end where we will be attaching our certificate as well. But here just click on this edit option, and here you can see the backend which we have just created. We need to attach that backend over here. Mode, so here I'm just going to stick with HTTPS, and here the port I'm just going to change it to 443 because I will be enabling the SSL certificate onto this particular application. So the communication will happen on a 443. Public access, yes, I need a public access so that I can access this application from my domain. Okay. After that, private access, so attach private network, and I think I need to attach it over here as that one also. So I'm just going to choose private network, click on attach network over here so that I have attached it. And here you can see the certificate. So now we need to create certificate, which you can create dynamically from your UpCloud account. So click on this attach certificate, click on this add options over here. And here the certificate type is manual, but here you can choose dynamic over here. And here you can choose the key type. So let's choose RSA over here, and the domain. So I have already purchased the domain. So I'm just going to enter the same domain name over here. So which is www.jhook.org. So this is the domain which I have purchased separately, not from UpCloud, but that I have purchased from the Google domain previously. So I'm just going to choose that one, click on add over here. And after that, click on create. Resource already exists, so I think I have already tested few of the settings, so that resource already exists. But in case if I can use that existing one, so here, or maybe I can change the name. Yeah, here it is the thing. So I can change the name over here. So I'm just gonna choose dev project certificate. Okay, so this is the name I'm just going to assign to it, and then I'm just going to click on create over here. And also you need to change the name over here. So I'm just going to put dev project certificate JHook. And after that, you can just click on create over here. And here you can see our certificate has been created. And after that, once certificate has been configured, then just click on create over here and create load balancer. And once you click on this create load balancer button, and then all the 4 steps has been completed, which is like a load balancer, backend, front end, and your certificate. So just click on load balancer over here. And this load balancer will take certain amount of a time to get up and running because it is setting up your load balancer, then it is setting up your backend server, then it is setting up your front end, and also it is attaching your certificate. So just be patient with this particular step over here. So after a couple of minutes, my load balancer is up and running, which you can see it is now into the green state and it is running right now. So let's verify a few details over here. So here you can see this is the public host name, which we are going to use it to update our CNAME into my domain registrar, which I'm just going to show you later. But these are the details which we need to verify. So this is my load balancer public host name, and this is my private host name. And rest of the details looks okay to me. The next thing which I'm just going to verify is the backend. And here you can see the backend is still into the pending state. So it will be soon green once it is up and running. The front end section here, you can see it will be going to green state once I configure my CNAME onto my domain registrar. So just we need to wait a bit once we configure our CNAME to our domain registrar, and after that this will also change, which I'm just going to show you after that. And after that, the resolvers, there is nothing we have created in the DNS resolver, and the matrices, these are some matrices which you will eventually see once you start accessing your application. Okay, but anyway, my load balancer is up and running, and the most important step over here is the host name. So I'm just going to copy this particular public host name from here. I'm just going to go to my Google domain, which you can see, and here you will find a DNS setting. I'm using Google domain, but if you are using any other domain provider, then there will be a DNS setting which you need to find into that domain registrar. And it should be straightforward. There should be some option to modify your DNS setting. So here, what you need to modify over here is the CNAME. If there is no CNAME, then you need to add that CNAME record over here. And after that, you just need to put the host name. The default host name is always there because this is the CNAME record which I'm inserting, and that's the only CNAME record which is present over here. But here I need to change this setting. So I'm just gonna paste the latest public host name of my load balancer from here. So here I have updated the host name. Click on save over here, and it will be updated pretty soon. Here you can see the domain registrar has been updated with my latest public host name of my load balancer. So whenever someone is trying to access the jhook.org, then it will resolve to this particular public host name of my load balancer, and the request will be routed to my public load balancer, which I have just configured onto the UpCloud. Also bear in mind that this particular step, when you configure the CNAME, will take a certain amount of a time. It may vary from 15 minutes to 30 minutes and even couple of hours. So it depends upon your domain registrar, how much time will it take to propagate the DNS or the CNAME changes. So just be patient with this one because it will certainly take some time to propagate these changes. And this is a one-time change, and once you configure it, then you don't need to change it again and again. So just this is the step which is crucial. So be patient with it and just keep on checking the health of your front end, back end, and your load balancer. All should go green after a certain amount of a time. One more important step in this whole migration is to migrate your existing database from other cloud service provider or from on-prem to the UpCloud. For that, what I would recommend is to take a dump of your existing database. After that, also you need to SCP or transfer that dump into the UpCloud server or host. And after that, you also need the DTL DML or the schema creation SQL, which you have created onto your previous service provider or your on-prem databases. So you just need to use those SQL to recreate the whole schema. And once you have copied the dump, once you have created the whole schema, tables and everything, then finally you just need to restore that database onto the UpCloud servers or UpCloud database. And after that, your database will be restored and your application will be up and running and fully migrated onto your UpCloud. All right, so after updating the CNAME into my domain registrar from where I have purchased my domain, I'm able to access my project, which is accessible on this particular domain, which you can see. So this is the default home page of my project, which you can see over here. But before that, before I can show you that it is connected to database, let's try to verify a few of the things which I have configured onto the front end of my UpCloud. So if you go over here on the left hand side, so these are the load balancer which we have set up. So let's verify a few details about the front end. So this is the front end which I have set up. Let's open that one by clicking on the edit. And here you can see I have configured the certificate, which is this one, dev project certificate. And here you can see the status, which is now into the ready state. So this will happen once you configure your CNAME correctly to your domain registrar. And keep remembering that the DNS propagation will take time. It can take from 15 minutes to 30 minutes as well. So you just need to be patient. But once it is propagated, then you will be able to access your like a project or whatever application which you're trying to deploy onto that particular domain. So here you can see my domain is accessible and this is connected to database. So let's verify that one by inserting some record over here. So this is the record I'm just gonna insert, and then I'm just gonna click insert record. And here you can see my record has been inserted into my database. Let's try to insert one more record over here by clicking on 2 and click on insert record. And here you can see my second record has been inserted into my database. If I refresh this page again, so it is, you can see the records are still there. So which means our data has been inserted into my database and the whole flow of application is working at the moment. So this is how we migrate our project from AWS to UpCloud, and these are the verification stuff which I do usually at the end of migration. I hope you really enjoyed the today's session on how to plan your migration to UpCloud. If you have any question or queries, please put down into the comment section, or you can reach out to the UpCloud support which are available for you 24/7. And there is a special discount code into the description section. So if you want to give a try to UpCloud, then please use that discount code. So see you into the next session. Till then, take care and bye bye.